The stars looked different from this far away from Earth. Ambassador Hyun stood at the observation window of the transport ship, watching the massive space station grow larger as they approached. It was called the Nexus, and it was the heart of galactic civilization. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds came and went like busy insects around a hive. This was where decisions were made that affected billions of lives across countless planets. Hyun adjusted his simple gray suit and checked his reflection in the dark glass. He looked plain compared to what he knew waited inside. The aliens would be colorful, strange, and probably very proud of themselves. Earth had been watching them for 5 years through telescopes and stolen data transmissions. Humanity knew what to expect. The question was whether the galaxy knew what to expect from humanity. The transport docked with a soft thud. Hyun's team of 12 humans gathered their simple bags and followed him into the station. The moment they stepped through the airlock, they were hit by noise, color, and strange smells. The main corridor stretched ahead like a small city turned sideways. Creatures of every size and shape moved through the crowds. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated, crawled, or moved in ways that hurt to watch. A tall being with blue skin and 4 arms approached them. Its face had too many eyes, and when it spoke, the words came from a device on its chest rather than its mouth. The voice was smooth and practiced, like someone who gave the same speech many times. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Protocol Officer Velm. The Council awaits your presentation." The creature looked them up and down with what seemed like disappointment. "Please follow me and try to keep up." Hyun nodded politely and gestured for his team to follow. They walked through corridors filled with technology that made Earth's best computers look like stone tools. Holographic displays showed star maps, trade routes, and news from across the galaxy. Robot servants floated past carrying drinks and documents. Everything was designed to impress, to show how advanced and important the galactic civilization was. Behind Hyun, Captain Day walked with his eyes constantly moving. He was not officially part of the diplomatic team. His role was listed as security, but that was only partly true. Day was a military officer with 20 years of experience. He noticed how the station guards carried weapons but held them carelessly. He saw how the security checkpoints scanned for dangerous items but missed several obvious weaknesses. He noticed everything and said nothing. They entered the council chamber, and Hyun had to work to keep his face calm. The room was enormous, with a ceiling that seemed to disappear into artificial sky. Hundreds of seats rose in curved tiers around a central speaking platform. Most of the seats were filled with representatives from different worlds. They came in every color and shape imaginable. Some were as small as children. Others were so large they needed special reinforced seats. At the highest tier sat the council leaders. There were 7 of them, representing the 7 most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They looked down at the speaking platform with expressions that ranged from bored to amused. In the center sat Council Prime Orath, a massive creature covered in golden scales. His species had ruled the council for 3,000 years. "Humans of Earth," Orath's voice boomed through the chamber without any device. "You petition for membership in the Galactic Council. State your case." Hyun walked to the platform. He did not rush. He did not show nervousness. He simply walked like a man who had every right to be there. When he spoke, his voice was clear and calm. "Honored council members, we come in peace and friendship. Earth wishes to join the community of worlds. We offer our knowledge, our resources, and our willingness to learn from those more experienced than ourselves." Laughter rippled through the chamber. It was not kind laughter. One of the council members, a thin creature with too many joints in its arms, leaned forward. "Your knowledge? You have barely left your own star system. Your resources? Your planet has modest minerals at best. What exactly do you think you can offer us?" More laughter. Hyun waited for it to die down before responding. "We offer ourselves as willing students and partners. We may be young compared to your civilizations, but we are eager to contribute however we can." Orath waved a massive hand dismissively.
Yes.
"Your humility is noted. Let us discuss the terms of your membership. Earth will be granted junior status. You will have 1 seat in the lower assembly. You will pay the standard tribute of 15% of your gross planetary product. You will accept council oversight of your military development. You will provide workers for galactic projects as needed. In return, you receive our protection and access to basic trade routes." 15% seems high for junior members, Hyun said mildly. "The charter suggests 10% for new worlds." Another council member, This one, covered in fur with multiple tails, smiled with too many teeth. The charter was written for species with potential. You are weak, fragile. Your soldiers can barely lift their own weapons. Your ships are slow. Your technology is primitive. The extra tribute is for the additional protection you will require. The chamber filled with agreement. Representatives nodded and made sounds of approval. They looked at the humans like adults looking at children playing with toys. Behind Hyun, Captain Day's jaw tightened, but his face remained blank. His team stood perfectly still, watching and listening. Hyun bowed slightly. We accept your generous terms. Earth looks forward to learning from the wisdom of the Council. Orath looked surprised, then pleased. He had expected more argument. Excellent. Your quarters have been prepared. Officer Velm will show you to the junior delegation area. You are dismissed. As they left the chamber, Velm walked beside Hyun. The officer seemed almost friendly now. That went well for you. I have seen first contact sessions where new species argued for days. Your people are wise to accept reality quickly. We understand our place, Hyun replied with a smile that did not reach his eyes. The junior delegation quarters were small and plain, located in the oldest part of the station. The rooms were clean but obviously designed for species that did not matter much. Hyun waited until Velm left before gathering his team in the main room. Captain Day spoke first. They think we are nothing. Weak, stupid, helpless. Good, Hyun said quietly. Let them think that. What did you observe? Day pulled out a small device and projected a holographic map of the station. Security is lazy. They rely too much on technology and not enough on awareness. Their weapons are powerful but designed for fighting each other, not us. The station has 6 main power cores, all accessible through maintenance tunnels that are barely monitored. One of the team members, a young woman named Mina, added her report. Their computer systems are advanced but arrogant. They do not expect anyone to understand their code. I could access their networks within an hour if needed. But we will not need to, Hyun said firmly. We are here to observe, to learn, and to integrate peacefully. Earth spent 300 years tearing itself apart in wars. We learned our lesson. We want peace. Real peace, and if they will not give us peace, Day asked. Hyun walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, hidden in the darkness between systems, the rest of humanity's fleet waited in silence. Ships that the Council did not know existed. Weapons that would make their advanced technology look like children's toys. Soldiers trained in ways that these proud aliens could not imagine. Then they will learn why humanity stays silent, Hyun said softly. Not because we are weak, but because we know exactly how strong we are, and we pray we never have to prove it. The team stood in silence, understanding the weight of those words. They had come to the galaxy offering peace. They hoped desperately that the galaxy would be wise enough to accept it. Because if it did not, the universe would learn a terrible truth about humanity. The species that talked the loudest were rarely the most dangerous. The most dangerous ones were those who had learned when to stay quiet. 6 months passed like water through open fingers. Earth settled into its role as the newest and least important member of the galactic community. Human diplomats attended council meetings where they were ignored. Human traders competed for scraps in markets dominated by established powers. Human workers took jobs that other species considered beneath them. To the galaxy, humanity was exactly what it appeared to be. Weak, eager to please, and utterly harmless. Engineer Mina worked in the technical division of the Nexus station. Her official title was Assistant Maintenance Technician, which meant she cleaned up after the real engineers and did jobs they found boring. The alien engineers treated her like a child playing with adult tools. They laughed at her questions and explained things in slow, simple words as if she could barely understand. She never complained. She smiled and thanked them for their patience. She took notes on everything they said, and when they were not looking, she quietly fixed their mistakes. The station's power distribution system had been running inefficiently for years. The alien engineers insisted it was working at peak performance. Mina spent 3 weeks analyzing the system during her breaks. She found 17 critical flaws and rewrote the control algorithms. The changes were subtle. Power output increased by 12%. Energy waste dropped by 20%. The cooling systems ran quieter and smoother. The alien engineers noticed the improvements and congratulated themselves on their excellent work. Mina said nothing. She just kept taking notes and learning everything about how the station functioned. Across the station, scientist June worked in a research facility that studied quantum mechanics and faster-than-light travel. He had been assigned to a team led by a brilliant but arrogant researcher named Kelthar. Kelthar was from one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. His species had been exploring space for 10,000 years while humans were still living in caves. Kelthar made sure June knew this every single day. "Your species barely understands the basics," and he would say while reviewing June's work. "But I suppose we must start somewhere. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, your people will grasp what we consider elementary." June would nod politely and return to his work. What Kelthar did not know was that June had 3 doctorate degrees from Earth's most advanced research institutes. He had spent 15 years working on classified projects that had solved problems the galactic community still considered impossible, but he pretended to be a simple research assistant who was grateful for the opportunity to learn. When June published his first paper, it quietly revolutionized the field. The research showed a new way to calculate quantum probability fields that made faster-than-light navigation 30% more accurate. The galactic scientific community praised Kelthar for the breakthrough. Kelthar accepted the credit with gracious modesty and mentioned his human assistant only in a footnote. June watched the award ceremony from the back of the room and felt nothing but satisfaction. His work was now being used by every ship in the galaxy. Each vessel using the new navigation system was now dependent on equations that June had carefully designed with specific weaknesses that only Earth knew about. It was not sabotage. The systems worked perfectly, but if Earth ever needed to, they could shut down galactic navigation with a single transmitted code. Ambassador Hyun continued to attend council meetings and accept insults with patient smiles. He watched as the galaxy's politics played out in front of him. The 7 major powers jockeyed for position and influence. Minor species formed alliances and competed for scraps of attention. Everyone was so focused on traditional power games that they never looked at the quiet humans taking notes in the corner. Then the Krellian Empire made its move. The Krellians were the most aggressive military power in the galaxy. They had conquered 12 species in the last century and controlled a vast region of space through fear and brutal enforcement. They were large, powerful, and absolutely convinced of their own superiority. When the Krellian warships appeared in orbit around New Plymouth, Earth's 3rd colony world, no one was particularly surprised. The Krellians had been expanding in that direction for years. What surprised people was their choice of target. New Plymouth was poor, barely developed, and protected by Earth's pathetic little defense force. The Krellian war leader, a massive warrior named Gorak, sent a simple message to the colony. "This world belongs to the Krellian Empire now. You have 1 day to evacuate before we claim it by force." New Plymouth's governor immediately contacted Ambassador Hyun at the Nexus station. The emergency meeting was held in a small diplomatic room. Because the council did not consider this crisis important enough for the main chamber, only junior representatives attended. They looked bored. Hyun addressed the room with his usual calm manner. "The Krellian Empire has issued an unlawful claim on a human colony world. We request the council's assistance in mediating this situation peacefully." The junior representatives looked at each other and barely tried to hide their amusement. One of them, a reptilian creature from a minor trading world, spoke up. "Ambassador Hyun, the Krellians have the right to claim undefended territory. If your species cannot protect its colonies, perhaps you should not have colonies." "New Plymouth is defended," Hyun replied. This caused actual laughter. "By what, your 3 patrol ships? The Krellians have 50 warships in that system. Your defenders would last approximately 4 minutes in combat." Hyun stood quietly while they laughed. When the room settled down, he spoke again. "We still request peaceful mediation. We do not want violence." "Then evacuate," another representative said. "The council will not intervene in such a minor territorial dispute, especially when one side so clearly outmatches the other." The meeting ended. Hyun walked back to the human quarters alone. Captain Day was waiting for him with a concerned expression. "The council will not help?" "No." Hyun sat down heavily. "Contact New Plymouth. Begin evacuation procedures, but take your time. Move slowly. Make it look like we are panicking and disorganized." Day nodded. He understood. "And the defense fleet?" "Keep them in position. Tell them to look scared, but do not let the Krellians board or land. We are buying time. Time for what? Hyun looked at his old friend with tired eyes. Time to give peace one more chance. Send a message to War Leader Gorak. Offer him negotiations. Tell him Earth will discuss giving up the colony if he pulls back his forces. The message was sent. Gorak's response came back within an hour. It was a video message that quickly spread across the galactic networks, because the Krellians made sure everyone could watch. Gorak appeared on screen in full battle armor, surrounded by his officers. He was huge, covered in scales and scars, with eyes that had seen countless battles. When he spoke, his voice was like rocks grinding together. Humans, you are even weaker than I thought. You beg for negotiations like frightened children. There will be no negotiations. You will surrender 3 colonies, New Plymouth, New Dublin, and New Seoul. You will pay tribute of 40% of your planetary product. You will provide soldiers for our army, and you will do all of this within 72 hours or we will take everything by force. He leaned closer to the camera. Your species is soft, weak. You have no warriors, no weapons worth fearing, no will to fight. You will kneel before the Krellian Empire or you will be destroyed. The message ended. Across the galaxy, species watched and waited. Most expected Earth to surrender. Some felt pity for the naive humans. Others saw opportunity to claim what remained after the Krellians took their prize. No one expected resistance. Why would they? Earth had shown nothing but weakness and submission since joining the galactic community. In the human quarters on Nexus Station, Hyun watched the message 3 times. Then he stood and walked to his private communication terminal. He entered a code that he had hoped never to use. The code that would change everything. The message was simple. Tiao Jin Hong Si. Womasirguola. Condition read. We tried, across human space, in hidden facilities and secret shipyards in places the galaxy did not know existed. The message was received. Humanity had spent 6 months trying to fit into galactic society peacefully. 6 months of insults and disrespect and being treated like children. 6 months of hoping that the galaxy would accept them as equals. That hope had just died. Now the galaxy would learn what humanity had been hiding. Not because humans wanted to show their strength, but because they had been given no choice. The 72-hour clock started counting down. The Krellian Empire did not believe in second chances. War Leader Gorak watched the countdown clock with satisfaction. 72 hours had become 60 hours, and the humans had done nothing but evacuate their pathetic colonies in disorganized panic. It was exactly what he expected from such a weak species. His fleet surrounded New Plymouth like predators circling wounded prey. 50 warships, each one capable of cracking a planet's crust. The human defenders, 3 small patrol vessels, floated nearby looking lost and helpless. Gorak had fought wars across the galaxy. He knew fear when he saw it. What Gorak did not see was the quiet activity happening in the darkness between stars. Far from the light of suns and the attention of sensors, humanity was waking up. Commander. Tay stood on the bridge of the stealth carrier Silence. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment for years, hoping it would never come, preparing for it anyway. The Silence was one of 48 carriers hidden throughout human space. Each one carried a full battle group of ships that the galaxy did not know existed. Status report, Tay said quietly. His tactical officer responded immediately. All battle groups reporting ready. The quantum stealth network is active. Enemy sensors show no detection. We are ghosts. Weapons status. All systems armed and ready. Kinetic rails charged. Missile batteries loaded. Energy weapons at full capacity. We can engage in 30 seconds from your command. Tay nodded. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of every human ship in space. There were thousands of them, not the slow cargo vessels and weak patrol boats that the galaxy had seen. Real warships, fast, deadly, built using technology that Earth had kept hidden while pretending to be primitive. Open a channel to Captain Day, Tay ordered. The screen flickered and showed Day on the bridge of the horizon, the ship that the galaxy knew as a simple transport vessel. What they did not know was that the Horizon was actually a Dreadnought-class warship wearing a disguise. Every human ship in space had been doing the same thing, playing weak while hiding strength. Commander Tay, Day said with a slight smile. I hope you are calling to tell me we can go home and forget this whole thing. I wish I was. The countdown is at 58 hours. The Krellians are not backing down. Ambassador Hyun has given final authorization. The Human Defense Network is active. Day's smile faded. Understood. The horizon is ready. All civilian disguises will drop on your command. Tay closed the channel and looked at his crew. These were men and women who had spent years preparing for a war they hoped would never come. They had families back on Earth, children in schools, lives they wanted to return to. But they also understood duty. They understood that sometimes strength had to be shown to protect peace. Begin Phase 1, Tay ordered. Activate the network. Across human space, things started to change. On Earth's moon, massive sections of the surface slid open. The galaxy thought these were mining facilities. They were wrong. They were hangar bays, and they had been there for 50 years. Inside, those bays waited thousands of strike fighters and support vessels. All of them began powering up. In orbit around Mars, construction platforms that built civilian ships suddenly transformed. Their outer shells fell away like shed skin. Underneath were military shipyards, already filled with completed warships. They had been building these ships for decades while the galaxy watched and saw nothing suspicious. In the asteroid belt, mining stations activated weapons platforms. In the outer system, refueling depots revealed themselves as military bases. Jupiter's moons opened submarine docks that released hunter-killer submarines designed for space warfare. The entire solar system was an armed fortress, and the galaxy had never noticed. But the real revelation was happening in deep space. The quantum stealth fields that had hidden the battle groups for years began to drop. One by one, human warships appeared on sensors across the galaxy. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. An entire navy that had been invisible, waiting in the dark. At Nexus Station, alarms started blaring. The sensors had picked up the activation signatures of massive military networks. The station's defense coordinator, a veteran officer who had seen many wars, stared at his displays in disbelief. This cannot be right, he muttered. These readings show thousands of warships. Check the sensors. There must be an error. His assistant ran the diagnostics 3 times. No error, sir. The readings are accurate. The humans have a fleet, a massive fleet. Energy signatures match dreadnought-class vessels and carriers, military-grade weapons and shields. Sir, they have more firepower than the Krellian Empire. The coordinator immediately sent an emergency message to the council. Within minutes, the council chamber filled with confused and angry representatives. They demanded answers. They accused the sensors of malfunction. They could not accept what the data was showing them. Ambassador Hyun stood in the center of the chamber, his usual humble demeanor gone. His face was serious. His voice was steady and hard. The data is correct. Humanity has maintained a defensive fleet since before we made contact with the galactic community. We kept it hidden because we came seeking peace, not war. Council Primorath slammed his massive fist on his seat. You lied to us. You claimed to be weak. We never claimed to be weak. Yun replied calmly. We claimed to be peaceful. There is a difference. We came to your council asking for friendship. We accepted your insults and your dismissive treatment. We paid your excessive tributes. We did all of this because we genuinely wanted to integrate peacefully. Then why reveal your fleet now? Demanded one of the council members. Because the Krellian Empire has forced our hand. We asked for peaceful mediation. You laughed at us. We offered negotiations. The Krellians threatened total war. We tried every possible avenue for peace. All were rejected. So now we will defend ourselves. At New Plymouth, war leader Gorak was receiving similar sensor reports. His tactical officers were panicking. The screens showed human warships appearing all around the system. Not small patrol boats. Real military vessels with weapons that made Krellian technology look outdated. This is impossible, Gorak growled. They were weak. We watched them for months. They had nothing. His intelligence officer spoke carefully. Sir, analysis of the ships suggests they have been operational for decades. They used stealth technology beyond our current capabilities. They have been watching us while we watched them, and we saw only what they wanted us to see. Gorak stared at the tactical display. His 50 warships suddenly looked very small. The human fleet surrounding the system numbered over 300 vessels. And if they had this many ships here, how many more were waiting elsewhere? A communication request came through. Gorak accepted it. Captain Day appeared on screen, sitting calmly in what was clearly a military bridge. The simple transport ship had transformed into a warship that made Gorak's flagship look primitive. "War Leader Gorak," Day said politely, "you have 56 hours remaining on your ultimatum. I am authorized to give you a counteroffer. Withdraw your fleet immediately. Issue a formal apology to Earth. Pay reparations for the psychological trauma inflicted on New Plymouth civilians. Do this, and we will forget this incident." Gorak's pride burned. "You dare threaten the Krellian Empire? We are the greatest military power in the galaxy." "You were," Day corrected gently. "Past tense. Your fleet is surrounded and outgunned. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your sensors cannot track our fighters. Your communications can be jammed at will. You are not in a position to negotiate. You are in a position to surrender or die. We will never surrender to weak prey species." Day sighed. "We are not prey. We are predators who chose to be peaceful. There is a difference. You have 56 hours to learn that difference. Choose wisely." The channel closed. Gorak sat in silence, staring at the tactical display. His officers waited for orders. The Krellian Empire had never retreated, never surrendered. Their entire culture was built on strength and conquest, but they had also never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that had hidden such overwhelming power, an enemy that had watched and learned and prepared while pretending to be harmless. For the first time in his long career, War Leader Gorak felt something he had not experienced since he was a young soldier: fear. War Leader Gorak spent the next 40 hours trying to find a solution that did not involve surrender. He called for reinforcements, but they would take days to arrive. He attempted to rally his fleet for a desperate attack, but his tactical officers showed him the calculations. They would lose. Badly. He tried to contact the Krellian High Command for guidance, but the humans jammed his long-range communications. Every move he considered, every strategy he developed, the humans had already countered. It was like fighting an enemy who could read his mind. The truth was simpler than mind reading. Humanity had spent 6 months studying Krellian military tactics, strategy, and doctrine. Scientist June had analyzed every recorded Krellian battle in the Galactic archives. Engineer Mina had mapped every technical specification of Krellian ships. Captain Day had run 10,000 combat simulations. They knew how the Krellians would fight because the Krellians always fought the same way, with overwhelming force and brutal aggression. It was an effective strategy against most enemies. But humans had spent 3 centuries fighting each other in wars that made Krellian conflicts look like children playing. Humanity had mastered every form of warfare: conventional, unconventional, guerrilla, total war, limited war, cyber warfare, psychological warfare, and dozens of styles that the galaxy had never seen. With 16 hours remaining on the countdown, Gorak made his decision. Pride was important, but survival was more important. He opened a channel to Captain Day. "I wish to negotiate," Gorak said stiffly. Day nodded. "A wise choice. What are your terms?" "We will withdraw from New Plymouth, but we will not apologize or pay reparations. The Krellian Empire does not admit weakness." "Then we have no agreement," Day replied. "You threatened our civilians. You demanded surrender. You insulted our species. These actions require consequences. If you force us to fight, we will fight to the death. We will take many of your ships with us." Day leaned forward. "War Leader Gorak, let me explain something about human military doctrine. We do not measure victory by ships destroyed or enemies killed. We measure victory by objectives achieved at minimum cost. If you force us to fight, we will not engage in a glorious battle. We will simply disable your fleet." "Disable? You mean destroy?" "No, I mean disable. Watch." Day sent a signal. Throughout the Krellian fleet, every ship simultaneously lost power. Engines went dark. Weapons went offline. Life support continued, but everything else shut down. The mighty warships became floating metal boxes. Gorak stared at his dead control panels in shock. What did you do? Engineer Mina has been working on Nexus Station for 6 months, Day explained calmly. During that time, she studied every ship that docked there, including Krellian warships. She found that you use standardized power systems across your entire fleet. Very efficient. Also very vulnerable once someone understands the systems. We installed remote shutdown protocols in every Krellian ship we could access. We can turn your entire navy on and off like a light switch. The power came back online. Gorak's bridge hummed to life. He understood the message. The humans could have kept them disabled. They could have left the Krellian fleet helpless in space. Instead, they proved their point and returned control. This is not honorable combat, Gorak said quietly. No, Day agreed. It is not. But it saves lives. Your soldiers get to go home to their families. Our soldiers do not have to kill them. The only thing hurt is pride. So I ask you again, what are your terms? Gorak was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke with resignation. We will withdraw. We will apologize. We will pay reparations. And we will never threaten human territory again. Accepted, Day said. You have 6 hours to leave the system. The Krellian fleet departed quietly. No grand battle. No heroic last stand. Just a proud empire learning a hard lesson about assuming someone else's weakness. News of the Krellian surrender spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species heard the story. The humans who seemed so weak and peaceful had revealed overwhelming military power. The Krellians who had never surrendered had retreated without firing a shot. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Every major leader attended. This was no longer about a minor territorial dispute. This was about the entire structure of galactic power changing overnight. Ambassador Hyun stood in the center of the council chamber. The atmosphere was very different from his first visit. No one was laughing now. No one looked bored. They looked at him with respect, fear, and anger. Council Prime Orath spoke first. You deceived us. You hid your true capabilities. You violated the spirit of first contact protocols. We hid nothing, Hyun replied. We answered every question you asked honestly. You asked about our civilian technology and we told the truth. You asked about our trade capabilities and we told the truth. You never asked about our military capabilities because you assumed we had none. Your mistake was not in what you knew but in what you assumed. Why did you not reveal your strength from the beginning? Another council member demanded. Hyun walked to the center of the chamber. His voice carried to every corner. Because humanity learned a terrible lesson in our history. We spent 300 years tearing ourselves apart in wars. Nuclear wars. Biological wars. Wars that killed billions. Wars that nearly destroyed our entire species. We learned that showing strength invites challenge. It creates arms races. It makes enemies where there should be friends. He looked around at the assembled representatives. We came to you in peace because we genuinely wanted peace. We accepted your insults because we understood they came from ignorance, not malice. We paid your excessive tributes because money means nothing compared to lives. We stayed silent about our capabilities because we hoped desperately that we would never need to use them. And now, Orath asked, now the galaxy knows the truth. Humanity is strong. Very strong. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have ships that can blockade entire systems. We have soldiers trained in warfare styles you have never seen. We could have conquered this galaxy within a year of making contact. But we did not want conquest. We wanted peace. Hyun's voice became harder. But we will not accept being prey. We will not allow our colonies to be threatened. We will not permit our citizens to be harmed. If forced to choose between peace and survival, we will choose survival. Every single time, the chamber was completely silent. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were processing a new reality. The quiet humans were not weak. They were the most dangerous species in known space, and they had been hiding it deliberately. What do you want from us? Orath finally asked. The same thing we wanted when we first came here, Hyun replied. Friendship. Fair treatment. Honest trade. Peaceful cooperation. We do not want to rule you. We do not want your territories. We do not want war. We want exactly what we have always wanted, to be part of galactic society as equals. And if we refuse? Hyun's expression was sad. Then we will return to Earth. We will close our borders. We will defend our territory, and the galaxy will lose what we could have built together. Because make no mistake, we stayed silent not because we are weak, but because we understand exactly how dangerous strength can be. We have seen what happens when powerful beings abuse their power. We refuse to become what we once fought against. He looked directly at Orath. The choice is yours. You can see our strength and fear it, or you can see our restraint and respect it. You can treat us as enemies or as friends, but you cannot treat us as prey anymore. That option ended the moment the Krellians threatened our people. The council requested time to deliberate. Hyun agreed and returned to the human quarters. Captain Day was waiting with Mina and June. How did it go? Day asked. Hyun sat down heavily. They are afraid, angry, confused. They do not know what to do with us. Maybe showing our strength was a mistake, Mina said quietly. Maybe, Hyun agreed. But the alternative was letting the Krellians take our colonies. Letting them enslave our people. At some point, peace requires the strength to defend it. We reached that point. They sat together in silence, waiting to see what the galaxy would decide. 3 months after the Krellian surrender, the galaxy looked very different. The Council had voted to restructure the entire system of galactic governance. The old hierarchy based on who had the most territory, or the oldest civilization, was gone. The new system valued contribution, cooperation, and respect. Earth was given a full council seat, not as a junior member but as an equal. Ambassador Hyun now sat in the upper chamber alongside the other major powers. His voice carried the same weight as beings whose species had ruled for thousands of years. It was not because humanity had the biggest fleet, though they did. It was because they had shown the wisdom to use that fleet only when absolutely necessary. The Krellian Empire underwent the most dramatic transformation. After their defeat, they expected humanity to demand revenge. Instead, Captain Day offered something unexpected: partnership. The Krellians were warriors, but they had never learned to fight smart. Day proposed a military exchange program. Commander Tay was assigned to work with the Krellian military leadership. He arrived at their homeworld expecting hostility. What he found instead was curiosity. The Krellians respected strength, and humanity had proven their strength. More importantly, humanity had proven their honor by showing mercy when they could have shown destruction. Tay spent his days teaching Krellian officers about tactical flexibility, strategic deception, and the importance of knowing when not to fight. The Krellians were eager students. Their entire culture was built around being the best warriors in the galaxy, and now they had found teachers who could make them even better. Your species fights like we used to fight 1,000 years ago, Tay explained to a group of senior officers. All aggression, all the time. It works against weaker enemies. But against an equal opponent, it gets your soldiers killed unnecessarily. One of the Krellian commanders, a scarred veteran named Korax, asked the question they all wanted answered. How did humans become so skilled at war if you claim to be peaceful? Tay was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history. Images of nuclear explosions, cities burning, continents devastated, billions dead. This is how we learned. We fought ourselves for centuries. We developed weapons that could end all life on our planet. We nearly used them. When we finally stopped, when we finally achieved peace, we swore never to forget what war costs. But we also swore never to be helpless again. The Krellian officers stared at the images in shock. Their wars had been brutal, but nothing like this. You fought each other with such weapons? We did, and that is why we prefer peace now. Because we know what happens when peace fails. Understanding dawned in Korax's eyes. You stay silent because you have seen the darkness. Exactly, Tay said. Those who have truly experienced war are the last ones who want to start another one. While Tay worked with the Krellian military, engineer Mina was transforming galactic technology. The Council had asked her to review the infrastructure of the entire Nexus station. What she found horrified her. The systems were inefficient, outdated, and dangerous. They worked, but barely. Mina could have fixed everything with the backdoors and remote access she had installed. She could have upgraded all the systems while the aliens watched in amazement. Instead, she called a meeting with all the station's engineers. She showed them the problems. She explained the solutions. And then she taught them how to implement the fixes themselves. But why not just fix it yourself? Asked one of the alien engineers who had once mocked her. You clearly have the knowledge. Because if I fix it, you learn nothing, Mina replied. If I teach you to fix it, you gain knowledge. Knowledge is more valuable than any quick solution. Besides, I removed all the backdoors I installed. Your systems are yours again. I only ask that you build them properly from now on. The engineer looked ashamed. We treated you poorly. We assumed you knew nothing. You did, Mina agreed. But I understood. You had no reason to think otherwise. Now you know better. Let us build something good together. Scientist June faced a different challenge. His research had been stolen by Kelthar and others. The galactic scientific community had built entire fields of study on June's work while giving him no credit. When the truth came out, there were calls to punish those who had taken credit for human discoveries. June refused. Instead, he proposed the creation of the Galactic Research Consortium, an organization where scientists from all species could collaborate openly, where credit was shared fairly, where knowledge belonged to everyone. Kelthar came to June privately, something that must have cost the proud scientist enormous effort. I took credit for your work. I treated you as inferior. I was wrong. You were, June agreed simply. Why do you not demand punishment? You have the power now. The council would grant any request you made. June smiled. Because punishment serves no purpose except revenge. I would rather have your genuine collaboration than your forced apology. Science advances faster when we work together. Will you join the consortium? Kelthar hesitated, then nodded. I will. And I will acknowledge your contributions publicly. Good. Then we can begin real work. Captain Day took on the most visible role. His fleet became the primary peacekeeping force for the galaxy. Not because humanity demanded it, but because the other species requested it. When conflicts arose between worlds, they asked for human mediators. When pirates threatened trade routes, they called for human patrol ships. The reason was simple. Humanity could overwhelm any aggressor, but they only used force as a last resort. Day's ships would arrive at a conflict and simply wait in orbit. Their presence was usually enough. Everyone knew what the human fleet could do. Everyone also knew that humans preferred not to do it. One day, Day received a message from a small colony world being threatened by raiders. The horizon arrived within hours. The raiders saw the massive warship and immediately surrendered. But their leader asked for a meeting. Day met with the raider captain, a desperate being from a dying world. We raid because we have no choice. Our planet is poisoned. Our people are starving. The council ignores our pleas for help. So you steal from others who are also struggling, Day said. What else can we do? Day contacted Ambassador Hyun. Within a week, Earth sent environmental engineers to the raiders' home world. Within a month, the planet was being restored. The raiders became traders, using human-provided ships to transport goods legally. Day had solved the problem not by destroying the raiders, but by removing the reason they became raiders. This is not how military forces traditionally operate, observed Council Prime Orath during a review session. Traditional military forces create peace through fear of violence, Day replied. We create peace by removing the causes of violence. Fear is temporary. Understanding lasts. As the months became years, the galaxy settled into a new rhythm. Conflicts still occurred, but they were resolved faster and more peacefully. Technology advanced as species shared knowledge freely. Trade flourished as fear decreased and trust increased. It was not a perfect peace, but it was better than what had come before. Ambassador Hyun stood in the council chamber one day, looking at the assembled representatives. So much had changed. The beings who had once mocked humanity now listened carefully to human advice. The species who had assumed weakness now understood restraint. You changed us, Orath said privately after a session. Not through conquest, but through example. We changed nothing, Hyun replied. We simply showed you what we learned through terrible experience. Those who have known true darkness value the light more than those who have always lived in comfort. War taught us to treasure peace. Destruction taught us to value creation. Loss taught us to protect what we have. Why do you think other species never learned these lessons? Hyun looked out at the stars. Because they were never pushed to the edge. Humanity nearly destroyed itself completely. We looked into the void and saw our own extinction. That changes a species. It makes you understand that strength without wisdom is just another path to destruction. And staying silent? We stayed silent because we hoped desperately that the galaxy would accept us as we were, that we would not need to prove our strength, that peace could be built on trust rather than fear. We failed in that hope, but we succeeded in showing that even revealed strength can be used with restraint. Oreth was quiet for a long time. Then he said something that surprised Hyun. Thank you. For being patient with us. For giving us time to learn. For not becoming the conquerors you could have been. We are not saints, Hyun said honestly. We have our own problems, our own conflicts, our own darkness. But we try. Every day we try to be better than we were. That is all anyone can do. In the end, the galaxy did not fear humanity for their weapons or their fleets or their technology. They respected humanity for something more important, the wisdom to know when not to use those things, the strength to stay silent until silence became impossible, and the compassion to offer partnership instead of domination when they finally revealed their power. The quietest voices, humanity had taught them, were often the ones that had the most important things to say. And the most dangerous beings were, not always those who shouted their strength, but those who whispered their wisdom and hoped the universe would listen.